Hi guys, it's me, just Lucian again, and for this video that's dedicated to the month of Halloween, October in 2025, I decided to cover the next in line in the Ghostbusters franchise, movie franchise. And the next one in line is Ghostbusters Afterlife. After the little hiccup that they had when they made Ghostbusters 2016, but people don't like to talk about that movie that much. But I liked it. I liked it well enough. It was good. It was good by my book. It wasn't the best movie in the franchise, but it wasn't like so evil that it was good dodo, like as they say. But anyway, I'm here to report to you about Afterlife. And I actually like the Afterlife movie a lot. It was a real treat for me to see that. Although I did see Ghostbusters First Empire beforehand, so I knew it had to be good. And I also seen the last scene first with Gozer and stuff like that. Now, I gotta admit, when it comes to her, and I know that Gozer is like it's not really a he or she. It's more than it, but the person that they could play is a woman. So I'm gonna call her. So anyway, yeah, that's my one big gripe about the movie is that they involve Gozer again. Because in the first movie, of course, you had Gozer, main bad guy, with little demon dogs. And then in the second movie, you didn't have Gozer. But then in the Ghostbusters 2016 movie, they alluded to Gozer in the next film. Which is fine. If you don't want to count that as canon, go ahead, that's fine. But I do. But the next one, Afterlife, has Gozer as a bad guy again. So it's like we treat on already a sacred ground that's already been established, that the demon was already destroyed in the first one, and quite nicely at my head, because your emotional boy over there was a truth form. So anyway, it got roasted and everything else. But he does make a good appearance in this movie. Like, not one big giant marshmallow guy, but about 1,000 little guys that about the size of, say, a little, maybe this tall. And it is such a delight to watch. I enjoyed the hell out of these little bastards. Yes, they are little bastards because they're very mischievous. Like little gremlins around electronic devices. And it's actually pretty amazing because they're so gleeful and so happy, even when they get burned to death. Yeah, it's what I got. They get burned to death and they're all happy and squealing and thinking that's the best thing ever to be put into a s'more, or to be roasted on fire, or to be blended. They just don't care about anything else. They're like a little bunch of potheads that are about to die. So anyway, it's very cute, cuddly. But one thing I noticed is that in the end of the movie, when Gozer is really toasted, they show a lot of the mini many Stay Puft Marshmallow Man get roasted like they did in the first film with the red and orange fire inside the bodies. So it's so cool. They get the effect back. And boy, the effects on this are top notch. Bar none, they're top notch. I think that even when it comes to demon dogs in the movie, I believe that some frames are actually live action, are actually really statues and whatever. So that's really cool. There are lots of little touches in this movie which are callbacks to the original two movies, more so the first movie, and that they had the Twinkie sign. You have the the biblical quotes that was said in the first movie by, I believe it was Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd's character, and a lot of like the weird little nuances, like musical nuances, like the and all of that stuff, and the line of wheel and call, but in this case it was the girl Phoebe calling calling for Dr. Raymond Sands for get out of jail. And then they had of course had to have the Eggo one car complete with little side sheet that comes out the side of the car, which is a new addition. I remember it being in the first Ghostbusters vehicle. Maybe it was something they put in the cartoon, but I don't remember it being the actual live action thing. And of course they have the Ghostbusters. They had Dr. Raymond Sands. They had Dr. Winston Zedmore, played by my boy Winston. Annie Potts as Jean Melons. They had Bill Murray as Pink B. Vickman, who I did actually meet once when they shot the movie The Dead That Die, along with Adam Driver. Unfortunately, I froze. I really froze, like I was having a seizure or something, and my mother couldn't believe it. But I scared the pants off of her. But anyway, there was Glenn Weaver, which I sadly did not see during the Comic-Con event in New York City. But I did see Mrs. Potts. Not from Beauty and the Beast, though. And unfortunately, they had Mr. Harry Ramis passed away before this movie was made, so they put him in a ghost form and CGI form for the whole movie, which is very unfortunate, especially because they couldn't have. I don't know why they didn't do this. They couldn't synthesize his voice. Which I have no idea why they didn't do that, but they couldn't. I guess they couldn't do it, or they didn't find it respectful enough, or whatever. But they didn't do anything for that. That's but true. So anyway, I think that the tribute to him in the 2016 movie was actually pretty good in that it was his face on like a statue bust of himself, like doing that pose. thought it was funny when I saw it. But in any case, they filmed this movie with him, with elderly Dr. Egon Spengler going to his old haunt, his old house, on a farm to capture a ghost, or try to capture a ghost. Unfortunately, though, it kind of backfired on him because he doesn't have the right power to do it. He doesn't have the 1.21 gigawatts to open up the tank capacitor and stuff, so he can't generate the power necessary to capture this thing. And it ends up killing him. And what's really weird is that I like when they showed his soul escaping his body and going somewhere else. But the only thing is that when they do show the kids and everybody going back into the house like a month or so later on, you don't show anybody, any physical remains of Mr. Spengler. And I know that this is a kid's movie and it'd be very macabre to see a dead body there or some kind of skeleton at the very least. But still, a little bit of remnants would be nice, to add some realistic feature to this thing. Well, that's just what you mean. Well, I'm just saying it would be nice to see not the empty chair. In any case, his daughter is named Kelly, played by Carrie Coon, and she got moving with her granddaughter, Miss Phoebe, played by Mechanic Grace, who does an excellent job, by the way, and the kid, Finn, Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard. Now, I gotta admit, I don't know someone for college named Trevor. I lost track of him a long ago, but yeah. That one makes two Ghostbusters. And they both related by blood to Egon. Rest in peace. But the next one is Logan Kim. He plays podcast. I wonder what his employment is. Podcaster, of course. Now, I like him. He's funny. He's like the gadget guy. And I like the way that they set this cast up to be 4 Ghostbusters. I guess the 4th one in a minute. And I like the way they always they have like multi-ethnic groupings rather than having Winston Zedmore as the only black person in the group and the lovely I forgot how old he, but there was one person that was a black person in the remake Ghostbusters, and I didn't like that whole tradition. I like the fact that they had one minority person in the whole group, so it's nice to see an Asian person in it. That being said, it's also nice that they split down the middle as two boys and 2 girls. Which, yeah, the 4th one's a girl. But the thing is that she joined the group a little bit later on, like the others. And her name is Celeste O'Connor. Now, I like this girl. I like this girl a lot in the movie. But the only thing is that, they did a really stupid thing by putting her on the Google page at least. It just have her character name as being Phoebe's classmate. You would think that they would have a little more finesse about that and call her by a real name, not just a relation to somebody else. You know, like brother's sister, friend's roommate or something like that. You know, a little bit dignity to this character. Especially because she's a black character, you know. Kind of like leaving the black girl out to dry type thing. That's something I noticed with this. Everybody else has a character name. The ghost has character names, but not on the black girl. I don't know why that bothered me so much. Another thing that really bothered me, and this has some real truth to it, because I had an experience like this too when I was student teaching. Paul Rudd plays a teacher at the new school where they are moving to, and the 4 kids end up being his students for, I think, geology class, or maybe earth science class. And he said that, he's a teacher there, he said kids aren't very bright. And it's kind of bugged me because, number one, you don't want to talk to a parent of a student or a prospective student and say that my kids aren't very smart. So I got an easy street because they're dumb. They're not very bright. You know. Number two, that's your job, to make them smart, to educate them. You know, by you admitting that they're not very smart or bright or whatever the word you want to use for it, it shows that you don't give a shit about your job. That you just did for a paycheck. You know, they influence kids and that like to learn, into having fun when you learn, especially for earth science. You know, that's one of the more entertaining subjects in the school curriculum. And number 3, it doesn't show too much in your character to say, you know, my kids aren't very smart. You know, I'm so high above them that I consider them stupid, or less than myself. You know, for real life application, when I was student teaching at school, at best level on school in Long Island, my teacher, my sponsor teacher, I should say, gave me the hardest time you can imagine. Okay? She wouldn't budge on any of the curriculum. My supervisor had to step in, and he said that if they didn't let me take over the classroom and do what I wanted to do, and what my teacher wanted me to do in the classroom, they were going to be put on a blacklist, which they wouldn't be able to get away from. They would be put on a blacklist in which none of my school will be they wouldn't be permitted to, like, my classroom, you know, my future students and whatever come to the classroom and teach, because they will be on a blacklist. So I know it kind of biased it up, but it would be bad for the school. They continue to not let me teach over there. So anyway, the teacher actually told me once that all these kids who involve special education kids, they can't handle what critical thinking skills. I said, well, isn't that kind of stupid? That you're that teacher, you should inspire them to become more than just like dregs of society. In fact, he did have a drug of society. One of my students was a kid that just got out of prison, not prison, DV hall for I don't know, for stealing something or other. And he was saying that I was the only one that actually gave the guy a chance to do anything besides be a troublemaker. So I have his review somewhere else in my possession. It's really got to me right here. In any case, it really bugged me that this person, this paid teacher, was being paid to insult kids, to demean them, to give them a stupid assignment, to give them low-hanging fruit assignments, and you just sit there and be pretty. Meanwhile, I was over there, always going back to my teacher, pissed off, because they wouldn't let me do anything over there in the classroom because their curriculum was so stuffy and self-important and all that, and they have like superior education system and stuff. And everyone else in my class was saying that, oh, this student over here that had so much progress, they let me do this in the classroom here, or they are gonna nominate me for some award somewhere, the best student teacher or something for anything. It would be nice if at my school, at my sponsor school, let me do anything of value rather than just let me sit and observe and stuff. I already did that in my home school. So it kind of pissed me off whenever he said that. And besides, with Paul Rudd's character, Mr. Gruberson, he would always play like movies on TV that were not related to Earth Science Pacific, because they were horror themed. One was Child's Play, and then the other one was Cujo, and I think there was something else too. But in any case, if you're a teacher, you shouldn't be playing movies all the time. And if you do play movies, you should have something to do with the subject that you're teaching. You should put on like something like the core or something. It's not scientific accurate. It's about earth science. So anyway, they used to use the sound environment. And then he make jokes up at Uganda's expense because he's like with a lot of people like a loner and a crackpot. Even though in the movie they refer to the first Ghostbusters movie, and I guess number 2 and 2016 doesn't count because you don't refer to anything when that movie in those 2 movies. But it's funny that they also refer to Ghostbusters as Ghost Corp, which is a funny part of names too. But once that whole thing began in the 2016 movie, in not one of the TV shows or one of the games, which I wouldn't consider hearkening to the whole Ghostbusters mythos. Some people might, I don't. But the cartoons, maybe they would. But you know, we don't get a Slimer cameo. We do get one of those ghosts that looks a lot like Slimer, eats like Slimer, and he had like he had like an appearance like one of little like one of the parasites, like a bear, lives on your skin and eats up all the garbage on your skin. It kind of looks like that a little bit, but that's the first ghost that Phoebe catches using teamwork, using the Hydra One car, as well as a remote control entrapment unit, ghost trapped in these, which I believe might have been started in 2016 version of the movie. I don't remember being number 1 and 2, so it might have been there, or a cartoon somewhere thereabouts. So anyway, they trapped this ghost. They could pull police officers in the area. Nobody believes, of course. Nobody believes that it's a ghost catching thing. Again, the first movie happened. They should be considered national heroes. But anyway, they show them being put into custody and stuff, and mother comes over and super pissed off at that then. So then she ends up finding a temple to Miss Gozer again, like in the first movie. But then they discover a little ancient well. In ancient world, they find a ghost that lead to the demon world. And the demon world ends up rising up every once in a while. So when they do that, Egon spent a good amount of time and effort to make proton packs that are pouring into the well to keep them at bay. Very thoughtful of him. And also, I question where they get the power source to actually shoot 4 proton beams into this giant cauldron of death. So anyway, they find out that they deal with that, and Phoebe's like, "Whoa! If I wasn't really nuts, that's all." And she starts to tinker around with the old equipment and stuff, and gets it working again to show a real connection with her grandfather. Which, by the way, it's very weird that the mother looked nothing like Egon, but the daughter looked a lot like Egon, and the son does too, a little bit more or less. And the funny is, I always thought that him and Janine were together, but then it turned out that Janine with this character's name in there, anyway, she gets around quite a lot in the movies. So then they show two together, and then they show her tinkering with the machinery and whatnot. And gotta admit, I do appreciate the whole taking apart this equipment and looking at it and analyzing it and fixing it somewhat. All that, that's all good. So during the course of the movie, you see that the teacher, Mr. Rubinson, and Kelly, the Egon's daughter, are getting close together. And then when the demon dogs come to life again, they have to find that night son. They have to possess these two people. And from there they end up awakening or summoning Gozer. Now, I gotta admit, this whole coupling thing is getting kind of old. At first it was Sigourney Weaver with Rick Moranis from the first movie, Tenet, and whatever her name was. Anyway, thing is that I wonder is wouldn't it be real funny if instead of two guys, two heterosexual people that were already romantically involved, wouldn't it be funny to two random people that were two guys or two girls had to they had to make snooze to summon Gozer. And that would have been funny. That would be changing the formula. But gotta have two people get together and they have to make love and all of that. Summon Gozer. And first of all, I noticed that the daughter Kelly gets a spontaneous gold dress for some reason, and this Rubinson ends up destroying the machine that keeps the demon horde at bay. That was clever that he uses his big macho muscles to destroy the machine. Even though I don't know why they didn't have it so that the dogs by themselves could do that. We always see them interact with other stuff regularly, so why not that? Why couldn't he just have the dogs point the proton beam at one of the other guns and then destroy it, thereby weakening the hold on the demon portal? It really doesn't make much sense, but I guess it would have been super to have dogs aiming weapons like that. So, anyway, have them do that, then they get in dog form when someone goes there. And I could swear to God, she's played by Olivia Wilde. Well, Phoebe and the others got prison. Got their equipment out of prison. And remember that bear ghost that I told you about before? Well, it turns out that he gets released into the jail cell with all the equipment there because he's still in the trap. But the only thing is that he has to eat his way out through the bars to the ceiling. I'm like, why in the hell do you have to eat through the bars? Can't you just get through it? Can't you go through the ceiling because he's a ghost? Why do he have to physically get through the bars to open up them for the heroes? I mean, doesn't he recognize them? Why doesn't he just run away or run up in the ceiling? Number two, we never actually see what happens to him. So anyway, this show goes coming back, and he's more angry, more pissed off because he didn't succeed the first time, and she assumed that all the Ghostbusters that took her up the first time are youngins, are old and decrepit, and that's it, pretty much, yeah. So so she comes over and she got the same flat top hairdo, and she minus the heels this time. So she ends up being more powerful than ever, but using the remote controlled trap. One of the podcast drives the trap underneath one of the dogs. Kelly dog, and chocks the dog, and then begins goes enough that they can escape it with the dog out of the temple, and they escape with Kelly. Now, this is like something pretty nice, because in the first movie they never actually tied the Gozo Tower with Devil Dogs. It's pretty nice. I always thought that the dogs were two separate entities, and Gozo just oversaw them in power. I didn't know there was like any connection between the three of them. So anyway, yeah, let's forget about Paul Rudd for right now. Let's forget about Master Rubus, and he's not important. So anyway, they all have to leave Gozer back to that farmhouse to be properly destroyed. I like the way Coach weakened from the demon dog being destroyed. She saw half of the ghost that half of the demon, I should say, that she always was. And she's all burnt and skeletal, and it's real cool. So then, they end up going back to the house there, and it turned out that this whole thing was set up by Egon to not only be a little camouflage place over there in the middle of nowhere farm, but it turned out to be a gigantic ghost trap made specifically for Gozer or an equally powerful entity. So, Gozer doesn't do the whole, choose the form destructor and stuff, with J. Edgar Hoover and all that, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy back there. Instead, she uses her power directly to assault the Ghostbusters in both generations. It's really cool. They take her out in a more personal manner, and they don't get the helpful demon marshmallow guys career, which is really funny. Really funny. And let's see here, they show that, and it's just really hilarious. Now, they show the girl Phoebe shooting a proton pack at Gozer, who's had destroy still, who ends up getting the upper hand. So the ghost Egon actually helps out his own granddaughter and holding his city. Well, meanwhile, Gozer ends up holding on to the end of the laser beam like whip. And it's really cool because now she's more prepared for it. She knows how to handle the proton beam. Until the other Ghostbusters come into play. And that's just a schedule you would expect. And it's a very good comeback for them. Because they know these kids from the past. They know that the cameos are pretty nice. And Winston says, "What do you do? They're the one. I'm going to get back home to loving care." So anyway, I love the siren of the car. Now, speaking of cars, remember how I said he referenced Child's Play and Cujo? Yeah, I also want to say that they reference Christine too, because the car in the junkyard over there looks an awful lot like Christine, a 1971 Plymouth Fury. An angel car, if you ask me. But anyway, they had the live Ghostbusters fighting with Gozer and even cross streams, to which she grabs the beams and shakes them out and throws them out on top of the actual car. And it's funny because they said, "I don't remember this job hurting so much." So Winston said, "Yeah, I do. I remember it being very painful for a job." Now, I believe that in the first movie, he was the one that got paid the most. So that's a nice little touch there. It's so funny. So then they end up playing with Gozer and Phoebe onto the proton beam with them. And Trevor gets his proton pack work again with the help of podcast. And they end up doing the beast long enough for the three guys to get their proton pack back in action. And then Phoebe ends up moving more towards the Ghostbusters for the senior guys. And it's really, really touching to see all four Ghostbusters reunite again and find the ghost. Even when Winston and then Peter Rickman and Dr. Sands all look at them and say like, "About time. I knew you were coming here." So yeah, it was very touching. It was so nice to see that Egon kept doing his job even after he passed away. And it was really touching at the end of the movie when he said, for help, that the movie was dedicated to him. He didn't do that for the other movie for 2016. I wonder why. I can't figure out why. Can you guys? Suddenly they have it where Gozer ends up getting chugged by a giant ghost trap. Turns out that what's his name is Trevor, instead of shooting the ghost like he should, he aims up at the transformer towers to juice up the ghost traps underneath the dirt. And all look glow, and Kelly ends up pulling the lever or opening up the footbell to the ghost trap, and then from there it ends up that Gozer and the two dogs to head back to containment where they belong. So it's really nice to see that we finally caught Gozer rather than just shutting the door on her. So that they overpowered the most powerful demon in the netherworld directly, rather than just closing the door on him. So yeah, it was actually pretty nice. It was actually really nice that in the first part of the movie, well, Egon was so high that he mistakenly lost all power in the containment unit, the trap. He couldn't make it work right. But then it came okay in the end, and he got when the machine got powered up and it worked fine. And Gozer was defeated, the dog went to hell, and everything went all peach and cream again. And Kelly was proud to take on the single name, and it was nice that what was it? Her name was Lucky Domingo. Lucky Domingo was the name of the previous classmate. They still can't get over that. But they also have the last part of the movie where the credits rolled and they played the song, the famous Ghostbusters theme song. And they also had a thing with Sigourney Weaver and Bill Murray doing their characters, and she shocked him like again the first movie with the students, that they would be shocked. And I also got put a special notion to Bob Gutton, which was one of the which was the warden from Green Mile died with the ghost farmer and his son. Very excellently done. Good cameo from a person that was already deceased because of CGI and stuff. So a very good movie all around. And then later on they would do Ghostbusters for the Empire, which I will cover if I have time for it this month. So I thank you for watching my video on Ghostbusters Afterlife. Even though this is considered the third movie, I will consider the fourth movie for obvious reasons. This is a month of Halloween in October in 2025. And as such, I give this my happy face seal of approval, even though they don't make a lot of sense, like why they went back to Gozer again, why they had to make it so that she would be by the Ghostbusters at one point, then she waited like 30 years later, 40 years later, and she went for it again. The time got ruined big time by then. fucking opened up and all dissolved. Kind of like in the movie, but kind of like in the music video for the group, the Gorillas, were like the alien from Alien Resurrection, or the fact that nobody gives a crap about the Ghostbusters after movie one. Forget about all the stories, about all the video recordings of everything. Plus, I don't like the way podcast clearly was born after the year 2000, but still will use the developing film like we used to it from the 80s and 90s. I got a question that. But yeah, Happy Face several people. Ghostbusters was a good movie. Besides that, if you like what you see here, you want to see more of my videos, always subscribe, like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. You can also contact me for future information on my videos by calling me or texting me at 631-707-3707. You can follow me on Twitter or X at PMeltonPro. You can also get me on my email at jkviewingchannel@gmail.com. So remember, guys, I salute all the Ghostbusters fans out there. I salute everyone that wants to be a little Ghostbuster for themselves, whether they be like girl, any kind of religion, creed, or whatever. You guys can be Ghostbusters too. It's fun for everybody to do it. Except we do the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze. So, yeah. Peace out, my brothers and sisters. I am no Ghost. So, yeah. I'll see you guys and girls in the next video. Sayonara. Ciao, ciao. And then meet send RP to Ray Myth too.